Pain, when it hits us, can be all consuming. So much so it can literally change your personality if you are dealing with chronic pain or even new pain from an injury. I have firsthand experience with this recently, more so than ever. I've navigated pain on and off pretty much my whole life with the amount of injuries I've had and setbacks. But going through this disc replacement surgery challenged me to a whole new level, giving me an experience that I was not fully prepared for. Now, my surgeon did warn me, but I don't think I fully understand what nerve pain was or the muscle spasm from adding a disc to my back would create with me. And what I noticed over the last few weeks was how I was starting to become really, truly a shell of myself. And I want to share a little bit about that and kind of what I figured out on the other side of this, because I'm now almost, by the time you're listening to this, I'm 3 weeks post-surgery exactly today when I'm airing this. And a lot has changed for me with what I figured out. And I'm bringing my friend on here, Scotty Scheller, who I'm going to introduce in just a second. And the reason I'm bringing him on is something you all might not know about me is, in addition to midlife conversations and being a fat loss expert and what you see me public facing doing, I am also a social selling strategist. Now, I don't really market that online. I don't really talk a lot about that, but that is a whole nother world of mine where I work with clients on social selling, and it's been really fun for me. And I've met Scotty in that field. He is one of the go-to experts when it comes to social selling. He's an incredible marketer, sales guy, and he's my friend, and he's super creative. And we had jointly just traveled together to San Diego to help a shared client with a fun project. And Scotty got a full deep dive into Natalie's brain and personality and misery the last few days. So I thought this is a perfect conversation. In addition to that, Scotty himself was actually paralyzed years ago, dealing with an incredible amount of pain. And when I shared with him the breakthrough that I figured out while we were traveling together, it was very familiar to him. So thank you, Scotty, for jumping on. I literally texted him 5 minutes ago and I said, can you do this with me? Thank you for doing that.
I'm here.
That's what friends do.
I'm here, of course. Of course. That's what we're here for, baby. That's what we do.
Scotty, share a little bit about your story. I know you've kind of told me in passing, and it's not something you talk a lot about, but I know you were a hockey player, and what happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, my entire life was like, it was hockey. I was an athlete, and I grew up very competitive, and that was where my career was going to go. I wanted to be a professional athlete. That's where my mindset was. That was my identity. I was Scotty. I'm going to be a hockey player. That's it. And, as you're growing up, people don't realize how hard it is to be a professional, and so you have to kind of give it your all and you commit everything. And in order to commit to something, I really believe you have to change your identity into that person. And when you change into that person, that's all you know. And so, what happened to me, long story short, is I was well on my way playing hockey, enjoying my life. That was my career. That was my path. I was so committed to it. And I ended up getting put into the boards. If anybody knows hockey, I got put into the boards and a stick came up and it went across my neck and basically got punched in and lights out, broke my neck. And that was the end of my hockey career like that. Everything within 30 seconds, life stopped. And what was weird is it broke, but then I stood up and I was like, okay, like there was a little crack and I had like this weird sensation all through my body where it just tingles. And I was like, this doesn't feel right, but let's see what happens. So I skated back to the bench and blacked out. And that was all I remember. And when I woke up the next, it was kind of like, all right, something's not right. I didn't remember anything. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know anything. And I was back at home and basically I had gone through that entire rest of the day, the rest of the night, and I had lived and just everybody thought I was normal. Of course I had a concussion protocol and all that stuff, but I woke up and I didn't remember a thing. And I still don't remember that night. And they were like, yeah, you came off the ice, you were fine, like all this stuff. Like we went into concussion protocol, we got you off, it was the end of your shift and we were done. And I was like, okay, cool, like whatever. And it was weird because after that, I just had this weird sensation where I could not move like in certain directions and things were like really slow to me. So it's like you'd throw a ball to me and you'd throw it and it hit me and then I'd react to it. And so
like that delayed response we've talked about, like the delay, the brain delay.
Exactly. Or like I'd be like wanting to say something and I'd think about the thought and then 30 seconds later, that's when it would talk. So like somebody else would be talking or the conversation would be going and all of a sudden I'd interrupt them because it just caught up.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I having a stroke? Like I didn't really know what was going on, but I'm also a hockey player. I'm an athlete. If I say I'm hurt or I'm sick, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just going to keep playing. And I went to a team, like one of the team doctors, and he was like, hey, like maybe you should go to a chiropractor, see how your neck's looking. Let's get some x-rays and see what's going on. Went to a chiropractor, just kind of out of the blue, was like, I'm just going to pick a chiropractor. He did no x-rays at all. He was like, oh yeah, it's probably just like something with your nerves in your neck. Let me snap it. We'll get back into it. We'll get back into order. And he cracked my neck and lights out.
Whoa.
And it was like literally my entire life stopped at that moment.
Oh my God.
Because it was like digestion shut down, movement shut down, couldn't see, couldn't move, could not do anything.
Like
and
at the chiropractor on the table.
Yeah, on the table. And it all came back to me a little bit, and I was able to kind of like get up, but it was almost like, I don't know if you ever like hit your head really hard and gotten like concussed, but like it was that ringing and you have to like come back into your body.
Whoa.
And so I got home and I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and I couldn't move.
Oh my God.
There was nothing. Like it was just like and the way to describe it to people is it's kind of like you open your eyes and you expect to be doing all of this.
Yeah.
Like we take this for granted where it's like your hands are just moving and you're talking and you're moving around and you're breathing and all that stuff. And then you open your eyes and nothing happens.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, you're looking around and you're kind of like, all right, like maybe I should get up. Nothing.
Were you by yourself?
I was just laying in my bed, just like, but luckily I was there with my parents. Luckily I was just at their house. And my mom was like, hey, like you got hit the other day, like all this stuff. My dad was like, yeah, he got hit. We don't really know what's going on. I was able to kind of like get to myself. So it was really weird how it would come on and it would go away. So I'd be like paralyzed back. And I was just kind of like,
is that a common thing when someone's first?
It's not common, but it was because like basically there was a separation of my neck and it was pinching one of the nerves. Okay. And so every time I'd move, like if I moved in a certain way, everything would stop and it'd lock up and then I'd be done.
But you didn't know like the way you couldn't control it.
Couldn't control it. And it was the weirdest thing. And then we went to the doctor and he was like, they do x-rays and they're like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. Okay. Like what about all these symptoms and all this stuff? And he's like, well, I mean, we don't see anything. Like we'll check your blood work. We'll do all this stuff. And we did all this stuff. And then they're like, yeah, go home. And then at this point it's like, okay, I'm fine again. Like I feel good. And then I'd go a couple days and I'd move a certain way and then back into complete paralysis. Like
my gosh.
And it was like, what the hell is happening here? And I didn't tell my parents because I was like, I'm scared that like they're going to sideline me. And it got to the point, like it was like 2 or 3 weeks and of just constant that, like I'd be walking or I'd be in my car and I'd black out.
So you weren't clearly, you couldn't drive yourself, I'd imagine.
I couldn't drive myself. No. And so now I'm to the point where digestion's shutting down. Like eyesight is just killer. Like my hormones are all out of whack. Like everything in my life just started to like crumble.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need help here. And so I went to the doctor again. I was like, hey man, like we need to look at this thing and see what's going on. Once again, they did all the blood work, they did all the x-rays and they're like, there's literally nothing wrong with you. And I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, guys, there's gotta be something here. And this went on, like this went to the point where I couldn't go out, I couldn't eat, I couldn't walk, like my entire life was like lay in my bed, need help to get out of bed, get to the bathroom maybe, and then go back down, lay down, sleep for the rest of the day. Like, and this was like going all over the place. God loved my parents for sticking by me through this. Cause it was like, I had to move back in with them. They had to like drive me around. They were flying with me to different doctors. We were going everywhere. We were seeing every expert. We were doing this, we were doing that. And it's like, everybody's telling you either there's nothing wrong or we're just going to dope you up to shut you up.
Right.
And so I'm on 50 different medications at 20 years old.
And were you in pain on top of this too? Tell me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, like the pain that comes, like what people don't realize is your neck and your spinal cord are literally the highway to your body. Mm-hmm. So anything that happens there, it's the Wild West.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going to happen. And so like one day I'd wake up and like my entire arm would feel like it was on fire.
That nerve pain. That's what I was experiencing. It's like a burning. It's like,
yeah, it's like on fire. It's like people don't understand. It's like the easiest way I can describe it to somebody is if you've ever like leaned up against like when there's, let's say like a glass fireplace and you like kind of lean into it and you're like, ow. And like, it like hits you for a second. Yeah. It's like that, but constant and you can't get rid of it. It's just there. And you're like, it's agonizing. Mm-hmm. And like that would just keep happening. And then it'd go away and it'd come back and it'd go away and come back. And then it got to the point where I literally just could not feed myself. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't get up by myself. My life was over. And this went on for 4.5, 5 years, like couldn't have a job. Like it was.
And then
awful,
your whole dream, your whole dream was hockey player. Like this is, and now that's done.
It's over. And that's the identity piece that we'll get to in a couple of minutes where it was like my entire identity crumbled and now I'm worthless, and that's where a lot of people get. And it was just like, what the hell? And so after that, like 4-year period, we'll kind of like push forward a little bit of this. Mm-hmm. Just every single day, I'm going to everybody. Like now my hormones are a wreck. They go and they check my blood work and they're like, hey, like, yeah, your testosterone's 86. And if you know testosterone, you range like a normal range, which is not a normal range, is 208 to like 1200 at my
For
age.
men, yeah.
And I'm at 86. So
Wow.
I'm like living as an elderly dead person and in my body. And it's like I have no muscle mass. I'm losing strength. I can't think. Like I literally felt like I was just like a dead fish in a barrel. Like I
Yeah.
was just there. Like I
Did you
existed.
did you want to die?
Oh, of course. I mean, well, that's the thing is like I got to the point, it was like 5.5 years in, and I was like, there was just something in the back of my head that was like, it's time to go. I got to that lowest of low points, and it's a blessing now that I look back on it. But in that moment, it was like, I'm done. Like I'm already dead. Like I was dead. I was just here. I was like, I wouldn't even call what I was doing existing. It was just here. And I basically said, you got 6 months. I gave myself 6 months. I was like, 6 months, if this isn't better, just cap it. Like, we got to find a way out. And I had my plan. I don't tell anybody this. I had my plan. I had my notes written out. I was like, this is it. Like, I'm okay with checking out. I'm done. And there was this small little voice in the back of my head. I know it's God now. I'm a very Christian. And this is what kind of brought me to Christianity, where it was like, it just said 6 months. It just kept saying 6 months. I committed to 6 months. And like in the back of my head, I just kept hearing 6 months. And I was like, okay, well, what would I do if I could make myself better? What would that look like? And I started shifting my identity around, now you're a healer. Now you are in charge of this. Nobody's coming for you. No one's coming to help you. Obviously, it's been 6 years and nothing's better. You can figure this out. If you're going to figure it out, it's going to be you. And so I ordered every textbook on the human body. I basically brought myself back to college. I'm in hospital beds. I'm laying in my bed. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So might as well learn. And I just started listening to podcasts, learning things, listening to like some of your friends like Dr. Josh Axe, like all of these guys, and trying to put pieces together like, oh, this is my symptom, let's try this. Oh, this supplement might help, I'm going to try this. And just making myself a science experiment. And I realized like over the next like 4 months, I was getting myself better by the movements that I was learning, by doing different kinds of yoga, by different kinds of stretching, by different kinds of decompression, by like little things.
And
just
your
like,
focus had changed. Your focus had gone from depressed, sorry for yourself, this sucks, I don't like my life, to I have a focus and a purpose.
Exactly. And I was reading a book on, I got to find the book, but it's all about the power of the human mind. And I read there was one chapter in there, and it was talking about how 90% of people who are stuck in hospitals are stuck there because they keep getting told that they're sick, they're hurt, they're depressed, they're this, they're that. And so the power of your mind picks up on these little things. When somebody's telling you you are something, and it's so logical, because when you think back to like as children, when you tell a kid that he's not capable of doing something, he's probably not going to be able to do it in life. But the parents who constantly reinforce their children growing up and constantly put it on them, like, you are going to be great, you are great, you are this, you are that, and really start burning that into their mind, those kids grow up to be superstars. And I was like, it clicked. And I was like, okay, so maybe a lot of this isn't the fact that I'm still hurt, isn't the fact that I'm still sick. Maybe a lot of like, I've gotten myself back to 40%. Maybe the rest of it's all mindset. And so I shifted that, and I was like, okay, well, how am I going to live every single day now if I want that to happen? And it was every single morning reinforcing thoughts. Hey, like, you're feeling great today, man. Like, this is a great day. Like, I would remember back to how it felt to feel good. And I would be like, oh, like just another day, God's great. I'm awake. Like, even if I'm in a hospital bed, I'm so blessed to be here, And I started thinking like, if you walk outside, you get hit by a car, that's kind of a bad thing, but you got two ways to look at it. It's either you got hit by the car and, well, thank God it hit me hard enough to kill me and I don't have to be in pain anymore. Or thank God it hit me, I'm still alive. That means I get another shot at this. And go for it.
So Scotty, you and I have similar personalities, and I'm going to talk about DNA in a minute because I had a really full circle epiphany around this in a moment. I bet we're kind of wired the same way, but I'm a very fast processor. Like, I can process information fast, as do you when you have a focus on something. And even though my journey with pain is very different than yours, I didn't have that specific type of injury, but as somebody who feels like she's dealt with pain for many, many years, in the last 2 weeks, or last 3 weeks, because it's now 3 weeks now, but in the 2 weeks post disc replacement surgery, when I was not prepared for that kind of crazy nerve pain, like constant fire, like you described, like that fire waking me up at night, it felt like stabbing and fire, and even though it was clearly not the length of time yours was, I had those same kind of dark thoughts. Like, what am I going to even do? How am I going to work? Like, how am I going to live like this? Like, and my brain went to some serious dark places, and you witnessed that. Like, you saw, I kept telling you, I said, I feel like a shell of myself.
Oh no, you changed big time. And that it was concerning to me as like not only the fact that I see you every day almost, but it was like, it was watching a friend, because also you're so tough in the way that you didn't want to say exactly what was going on,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I
but
didn't
it
want to
was
burden people
written.
with it.
Yeah, but it was written all over you that you were like suffering, because there was a
Yeah.
lot of questions that were coming out. It was a lot of like, hey, I just don't feel like myself right now. Like I think you said that 100 times in the past like 3 weeks. It's like,
Yeah. And I really didn't. I think I had like well, you saw it because you were around me. And then my poor husband, like hear it all day long. I have only two friends that I would talk to. And I would like apologize leaving them messages. And I avoided pretty much everybody else because that pain felt all consuming. And the personality struggle that you just mentioned, I was having that too. Like, okay, here I am, this person that's supposed to empower others. And I've always lived by excuses or solutions. And I've always said, let's look into possibility, not problem. Let's look into, and I know that information and I could not get myself there. And by the way, those of you listening, I'm going to explain exactly what happened to shift it in a minute here. But I could not get myself to that place. It was like I knew logically, but I'm like, what I'm in too much pain. And when yours like expand a very long time, like you said, it was many years till you got to that place. So I don't know, like what were your thoughts around pain when that was happening? Like I started to feel like, okay, there's a divide in people, and people that have chronic pain, like it's like this, it's their life now.
mm-hmm. It was a real big eye opener for me when people, because I think when we hear pain and we hear somebody say that they're in chronic pain, you kind of immediately go like, you think of like the mildest pain that you've ever felt. You're kind of like, oh, I stubbed my toe. You know, you're like, you think about that.
Yeah.
But when there's different levels of pain,
Yeah.
like, and there's a difference between pain in a moment and ongoing pain where it's like you're living in it every day. So for those listening, it's like, think about the stubbing your toe example, but that pain just sticks there for days and days and days, and it just doesn't go away. So you're constantly hobbling on it. And you start to go down this, is this my life now? Like, is this going to be every single day?
Yeah.
Is this like, and all you can do is think about it. And the more that you think about it, the worse it gets,
The
because
worse
now
it
you're
gets.
hyper-focusing on it.
And I'm hyper focused on trying to fix it. And it's like not, all I could think about was the pain. So kind of in desperation, I mean, obviously I was with Scotty traveling. So he knew something, so he kept checking on me, and I was like alone a lot of the time in my room. Like I was like, I just need to be alone. But I reached out at one point. I was just so down. I think the first night we got to San Diego, I could not sleep. I woke up in pain. I needed to get up in pace. And I was just so upset. And I reached out to my friend, Michael Burnoff, and I said, I need like an emergency session with you. Like I need help. And he happened to be traveling. He like could not like do that right then. So I was kind of in desperation. So I called my friend Cash. I'm going to read you guys this little transcript for a minute. And Scotty, you didn't hear this exact. Did I send you the voice note, Scotty? I don't even know.
I heard a little bit of it,
okay.
But I didn't hear the entire
Because
thing.
I think you have a similar personality to me. So this is so Cash is my friend that he's an expert when it comes to DNA. And here I'm like, I'm driving my neurosurgeon nuts. Like I'm texting him like 10 times a day. Like, is this normal? What's going on? Why do I feel like he's being so patient with me? I'm sure Brooks was tired of hearing about it. But I left his name is Cash, and I left him a message and I said, I'm kind of desperate now. Like I've never felt like this. I'm in like a super dark place. I thought I'd experienced depression before, and I did when my daughter was born years ago. This was like something, I'm having weird thoughts. Like I don't want to live. Like that's the kind of brain stuff I was thinking. Like maybe I shouldn't want to live. Like that, I've never had that kind of like weird thing. I was like, my life's over. I can't live in this chronic pain. So I left him this whole message, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but knowing what you know about my DNA, what am I missing here? And I just want to read you a transcript from the voice note he sent me, because this is wild. He said, Natalie, your brain. Why do I say that? Because this is a typical story of a high performance person where you're wired for success, you're wired for high performance, you're wired to push, you're wired essentially to burn out. You're wired that way. Your brain is so powerful and so reward seeking, so analytical, and so anal about every detail that drives you forward in what we call a high functioning anxiety. That not only is high functioning anxiety affecting your nerves from stress, but it also affects your choices and your culture and your structure and your schedule. And people that tend to get injured and experience a lot of pain, you're willing to do more than your body can handle. And so he said a couple of things. It puts your body through hell, which can create injury, which most people would say, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to push that hard. I'm not really wanting to do that extra rep or that extra thing, that extra level of weight that most people would say, no, that's too much. You're going to say, I'm going to do it anyway. And he said, third, there's a bit of a lack of recovery because there's also that burnout state of being in fight or flight. And fight or flight is a state where recovery will not happen. And that was wild to me. That was one big connection. And then I want to share this part. He said, when you're in that state, your body doesn't want to recover. So this is where this is ignored and around the nervous system. Now, this is where it really got my attention because your nervous system is fully attached to your spine, your brain. It's all wired together. And he said, and a lot of times women who are wired this way, especially, they're gaslit all the time. And people tell them anxiety is normal. And no, the context today is so much more than what the nervous system can handle. So he said, and then on top of that, he's talking about me, you're genetically wired to fight through it. You're going to burn out. It's just not common not to. And he said, so everything can look great on the outside with people. And he said, that's why you look at a successful, healthy person and all of a sudden they have a massive heart attack, or they all of a sudden close down their whole business and become like a Buddhist monk. He said, that's why you're wired that in your DNA. So of course he leaves me this message. I start thinking and I said, well, what's the answer to that? What's the answer? And he said, this is really important because the way that you're, and this goes back to the way you're wired, and everyone's wired very uniquely different. If when you look at your DNA, he said, the only thing that will get you out of pain, and I never knew this, Scotty, I don't know if you did too. He said, pain becomes an addiction for people. He said, pain is as powerful as an addiction, like a drug would be. So it's almost like you will navigate towards feeling and concentrating on the pain rather than face your own emotions and thoughts and fears. Which when he said that, I was like, what? That doesn't even, I had heard people say that before about emotion and pain. I didn't understand it. But something clicked for me in that moment where I heard him. And when I said, what do you do about it? He said, you have to get yourself out of sympathetic state into parasympathetic, more that calm, meditative state. It is the only way that your body will stop feeling pain. And I was like, and it landed. The way he explained that landed. I don't know. And that's kind of what you just summed up. You sort of figured out with yours even.
100%. And it's literally finding the place that takes you out. The way that I heard it, it was take yourself out of your body and take yourself out of your mind and look at yourself from an outside picture. And then allow your body to rest while you're watching it, and so just completely taking yourself out of yourself. And it's exactly what he explained.
And when I asked him how, of course, he goes right into things I don't like to do, like meditate. And I was like, I don't do that. But here was the caveat. I heard his message. I was supposed to go on stage in literally 3 hours. To speak where you are. So I'm like, okay, I'm in so much pain. I'm like, I have this whole story. I'm like, focus on the pain, focus on the pain, focus on the pain. So I started scrolling TikTok and I saw somebody posting about 8D music, which 8D music is how do you pronounce it? Binaural beats. What's it called when it's like,
binaural beats.
Binaural beats. Yeah. It's where you basically wear headphones and the sound is different from each ear. So I put that on and they have it to all kinds of music. You just can go on Spotify or iTunes and look for it. I know Scotty uses brown noise. We'll talk about that in a second. But I put it on and I just started listening for about 5 minutes. And the next thing you know, it gave me that feeling of almost when you're, I hate to sound, those of you, if you've ever done THC, it's like you get that feeling of like out of body a little bit. It started kind of going there where I could really hear the music and I was more present. And next thing you know, I'm kind of like moving to the music and I just started feeling a little different. And I listened to this music for like 2 hours. And as that was happening, I started to like free myself a little bit from my body. That's the only way I can explain it. And I became more present. And from that space, I was like, what is it that I want? And I was like, I want to feel this way. I want to be not regretful of the surgery. I want to be happy. And honestly, it like shifted me. And all of a sudden the pain was like this. It was still there if I focused on it, but it was like not taking over my brain as much. It was weird. I had never experienced that before.
And it just kind of makes sense though. Because like you're identifying with something in that moment where you're constantly feeling it. You're going to hear me say identity a lot because I truly believe in that. And it's like, even identifying on something for a moment, it's your identity. You've picked it up. It's there. And so it was the same with me. The more that I focus on something, the worse it would get. And then also there would be other things that would pop up. So it's the same thing as like, I always say, when you focus on something hard enough, it's going to happen for you. And so when you're focusing on, like, think about the easiest one. It's like when you feel like you're going to throw up. A lot of times you just keep thinking you're going to throw up until the point you just throw up. Most of the time you're not going to throw up. You just think about it so much that you make yourself sick.
Totally true.
So you're constantly thinking about these things and you're going to drive these symptoms up and then you become hyper aware, which is the worst thing you can do in that moment.
And that's the word. Those are the words, hyper aware. Yep.
Yeah, because then everything becomes so focused on that. So you could have like, maybe your elbow's hurting, but then all of a sudden your ear itches and you're like, God, like, why is my ear itching now? And now you're focused on your ear itching and you're like, okay, this is another symptom. and then it's a symptom after a symptom, and you're just noticing normal patterns in your body, but they're all symptoms, but now they become so polarized that now you're feeling everything in your body, and now you have no time to relax into it because all you're doing is just focusing on everything that's happening when you shouldn't even be focusing on your breath.
No, you're totally right. And I'll tell you, when you're like, and I was guilty of all these things. So when I was experiencing that kind of pain, not only did I go on social media and do a reel and be like, okay, I'm explaining, have this excruciating pain. What do you guys know for it? I'm now like attracting comments about it, right? Then I reached out to a friend and I'm like, what did you do post this surgery? Did you feel this nerve pain? And he said, oh, in this Facebook group a lot. So I joined a stupid Facebook group, which don't do that because all I could find was people in chronic pain having nerve damage, regretting their disc replacement. So it just kept getting me worse. I was like so focused on this is horrible. This is horrible. So once I had this shift, which sounds weird, like I know some people are going to resonate, some people are going to be turned off to this, but like once I had that shift, I've been playing with it the last 2 days. Like I feel great. I honestly feel great, but I'll have like this body check in, like, is that pain still there? And I'm like, if I think about it, it is. I can feel it. But I'm shifting myself out of it. So it's really wild. And it's come full circle for me because I literally teach mindset. I teach this for fat loss. I teach this for everything. But I had to like walk through this deep here to go, wow, this really is something. And then on our flight back, Scotty, I was listening to like neuroscience. Like I really had never dove into any neuroscience before. And
it's crazy.
It's wild. Like the amount of people that have literally healed or gotten themselves out of chronic pain, back to life, fixed their bodies from rewiring their brain, which is kind of like what hypnosis is. It's what any of that is.
Mm-hmm. It's 100% right. And it's weird because a lot of people will like turn their cheek at it or like say it's like woo woo or it's like it's false and stuff like that. But it's the entire reason why like there's so many stories of people who like got diagnosed with cancer and decided to officially live their life and started having fun and started traveling and doing everything that they've ever wanted to do and just let go of all of the expectations and just started living with I'm dead in 5 months, might as well just have fun. And all their attention went to having fun, and then they go back and the cancer's gone.
It's wild.
And it's like, why did it happen? And and I say it's a miracle, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's also like you completely shifted your identity. You completely shifted your thought process. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go out and cure cancer. We're not going to say that. Mm-hmm. But there is so much power that's in our brain that people don't even realize. Like people don't think about it. It's like you have so much control over your mindset, which is going to dictate your health, which is going to dictate the outcomes that you have in life. And it's literally just starts with how you see things and how you visualize them and how you bring yourself back to present. And there's two kinds of people in the world, and normally you want to be the third one. You either live in depression or you live in anxiety. If you live in depression, you live in the past. If you live in anxiety, you're living in the future. It's hard to find the person who lives in the center. But once you find that person, it's like that's the person you need to live in every single day. It's like, okay, how am I feeling? Check in on it. Can I do anything about the pain? Probably not. Well, I'm going to focus on something else. Easier said than done, but once you start training yourself to do it, it just happens.
Hey, I really hope you're finding value in today's video. If you are, please hit that like button. It really helps to rank these videos so others like you can find this great information. Also, if you are enjoying the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It's that little bell that pops up that lets you get notified anytime I have a new release. Thank you for being here and watching. If you've got suggestions for videos you'd like to see or interviews you would like to happen, please make sure you comment for me to see those as well. Here's another interesting thing I just connected to in the last few days about DNA and pain and where our brain goes. So based on my DNA, and yours is probably like this too, Scotty, because we have similar personalities. I am very driven with serotonin and dopamine, like those really, and I have to be very aware of any kind of supplement or anything that's going to affect those because it will throw me off if something depletes serotonin. Like you and I were talking when you were in pain medicines years ago, you said oxycodone you were depressed on it. It depleted your serotonin, which it does. It gives you a false sense of euphoria, then it wears off and it depletes it. I was on for 2 weeks. One of the things they automatically do when you have a disc replacement is you have to go on Celebrex for a few weeks. And the reason, some people keep it on for a few months, the reason is Celebrex is known to inhibit bone growth, which is not normally a good thing, but it is a good thing when you have a disc replacement because you do not want it to fuse together. So for the first 2 weeks, especially, you were supposed to be on Celebrex. So I was taking Celebrex, like not something I would normally take, but I was listening and it was a high dose. And what I now realize after talking to Cash and reviewing my DNA again, that any medication that affects that is going to affect me really negatively. So what I learned, and you guys can look it up, I happen to be one of those 1%. 1% of people on Celebrex actually get suicidal thoughts, depression. So here I'm like in the pain, focusing on the pain, joining Facebook groups, the wrong path. and taking something that is completely depleting my serotonin and dopamine. So it's like, it was so like wild. Like it's just a lot of coming together for me around mindset and just our DNA and how important it is to like know both of these, like to be aware of all this. Just
And
wild.
it's even crazier is watching it from the outside in, like just knowing you and like seeing the person that went into the hospital to have it done, and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing the person that came out and like was in pain and all these things. It was like it was two completely different people. It was like
Yeah.
it was Natalie, but like she was putting a face on,
Yeah.
and it was like it was this really weird like, and as a friend it was kind of like, and it might
Yeah.
have been different if I hadn't gone through it myself, where I was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, I kind of understand what's happening, but it was also this moment of like, she's not working out, she's
No.
not doing these things, she's not doing the things that she loves to do. And what scared me is all of that love and that passion that went into all these things was gone.
Which is wild because I worked out for years with pain. Like I got on with my life years with pain. It was just, this was like consuming me, this whole
It was
situation
just
here.
it was just scary because it was like there was nothing that was bringing you joy, and
Yeah.
like we didn't really know it was the medication. It was like, what
Oh,
the
it
hell
was a
happened
combination. It was my
there?
focus and that medication. Like, so once I
Yeah.
shift my focus, I started feeling better. And then I threw away the rest of the Celebrex. So I was like, I am not taking this again. And I told my neurosurgeon, I said, and he's like, wow, that's like a very small, rare side effect. But yes, but that's how I'm wired. So knowing that, like, I will never touch it again. And also, it just really powerful lesson to me about our mind and how much that's just because literally, like, as I'm talking to you, I can check it on my body and I feel pain. Like, I feel soreness from where they put it, like, all of it. My abs where they cut to put the disc in, I feel it in my leg. Like, if I check in, but I'm not focused on it. And it made a big difference.
No.
I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
I mentioned 8D music. Can you just say what brown noise is? Because I know you keep telling me, you're like, I need to force you to listen to brown noise for people listening. What is
Yeah.
that? And what?
Yeah, so everybody's heard of different colored noises. The one that most people know is white noise. And it's like, go to sleep, put on white noise, it helps you fall asleep. There's different frequencies of noise, and it's brown noise, pink noise, gray noise, whatever you want. I really have fallen in love with brown noise because what brown noise does for me and for many people, and especially if you can't sleep, you should give it a shot, is it basically tones out all of the other thoughts that are coming in, allowing you to focus on whatever's in front of you. So, like, especially with somebody who has like an ADHD mind like mine, where there's thousands of things happening, if I need to just focus on something, like I use it a lot for sleep, where I'm like, okay, I need to sleep, I'll throw on brown noise, and all I'm focused on is relaxation. And all I focus on is relaxation, I fall asleep because there's nothing else there.
Like
And I
super
noticed this
quick?
over
Does
the
that
weekend.
happen?
Oh, super quick. Like I even over the weekend while we were in Cali, it's like I didn't have like my Alexa with me where I just say, hey, Alexa, play brown noise. And so I was trying to fall asleep. I was like, why can't I fall asleep? And I was
Yeah.
trying to figure it out, and I was like, it was like midnight one, and I was like, I just can't get like relaxed. And I was like,
Wow.
I don't have my brown noise on. And so I threw my phone on. I was like, hey, going on YouTube, just typed in brown noise for 12 hours, threw it on, and lights out. It was
I gotta
like
try
immediate.
that. Yeah.
It's
That's amazing.
it's incredible because it just turns everything off. And so, gray noise and like white noise are the sounds of like fans. Brown noise is almost like that humming that you get on an airplane.
Yeah.
And so those people who
Okay.
kind of like, you find that relaxation when you're on an airplane and you kind of like calm down a little bit, where it's like, if you're not scared of
Yeah.
flying, obviously, but once you kind of like get into that zone, and it's kind of like that humming that kind of like gets you like, oh, that's
Yeah.
brown noise.
Oh,
And
that's
so if you
wild.
just want to live in that and you want to focus and you want to like come back in and like really meditate on something, but you have because a lot of people have trouble meditating because like, I have so many thoughts. It's like throw on some
Totally.
brown noise and just sit there with it and just let the thoughts go. And you will be so shocked after about 2 to 3 minutes. Your mind will literally just be hyper focused on that one thing in front of you.
What I want to kind of come back to your story for a minute because I don't want to leave people hanging here. Like, did
Please.
they ever figure out like how to stop that, or was that literally because you shifted your focus? Like, what happened? Like, and do you ever still fear that could happen again?
100%. And I think you're always going to have that fear. The thing that happened with me though is like they went in and they finally saw that there was a pressure fracture and a massive crack. And they're like, we
Okay.
don't know how we missed this because it was like bulging.
Like
And they're like,
on
"We
your
don't know how we
spine?
missed this."
Or okay,
Like in my
okay.
neck. Yeah. And it was like, we don't know how we missed this. And it was like one guy, he was like, I don't know how they missed this because it's like, it was
Yeah.
blatantly obvious. Like most people have like a nice curve in their spine, and mine was like basically flat and then bent to the side. And it was
Wow.
like, he was like, I don't know how this healed like this, but like, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, and at this point I was just living. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not going to, and I was like, well, what are we going to do about this? He's like, you could go to a chiropractor. I was like, I'm not going to a chiropractor.
Never
And it
again.
was kind
You're
of
like never again.
Yeah, no. I was like, don't touch
No.
my face.
No.
And so basically he was like, well, I mean, if you're good, like just continue going. And so, yes, I still have like every once in a while, you probably caught this. I'll stutter a little bit, or I'll like
I've
slip up
never
on a
caught that
word,
with
or
you.
like I catch it because I know where I've come from, and I've gotten very good at like I had to retrain myself to talk very well. I had to, really kind of work on all these things, and I built myself back into it. But there are still times where I'll stutter a word, or I'll try to get something out and I'll fumble it, or
Wow.
there'll be days where like I'll be like every once in a while I'll go and play hockey again, and I'll just be skating and I'll miss a puck, and I'll be like, oh, okay, there's a little delayed. There we go, right there, delayed reaction. It's little things like that that I'll still catch. And then every once in a while I'll be in the gym or something, and I'll like do like an overhead press, and I'll be like, oh, I'm feeling something. Okay, put it down. And then like everything will go numb for a couple minutes, and then it'll come back.
So you still
And I'm
get
like,
that numbness because you never
oh
actually did
yeah,
like a fusion or anything. So it's just, but you've adjusted and wow, that's wild. And then do you still have
yeah.
lingering nerve pain or anything if you were to focus on
It,
it? I know you're not focused.
yeah, I mean, it will come if I focus on it. If I really like, because what's funny about the nerve pain is like you'll start to think about it. You'll be like, oh, like my
Yeah.
elbow's a little twinged right now. I wonder what I did to it. And then you kind of like start to think about it, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you're like, oh, that's this. And then you just kind of have to go, okay,
Mm,
I know what this is. Like, we're okay.
yeah.
Get the distractions out. Kind of go do something else. Throw on some meditation. Just kind of
Right.
go for like I'm known for going for my walks. That's one of the reasons I go for so many walks is because it just calms my mind and it gets me out of my body.
Yes.
And then once you get really good at pulling yourself out of your body and going, this is temporary. I have control over this. Once you get really good at that, it's like it's a superpower because it's like, okay, if I'm feeling something, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just focus on something else. It's gone.
So,
And then if it's really bad, then, who cares? You just get through it.
so I just want to share when I was like, could not sleep and when my nerve pain was so high up, if someone had told me go meditate or relax or focus different, I would have wanted to punch them. Like that's how I felt
Oh,
right
yeah.
then. But being on the other side of this right now, and literally witnessing that shift in myself. If you are literally living in pain or you got pain, please just hear it and try something like that. Try to get your mind, because even if you can just get that subtle break, getting your mind off of it. I actually think that's why THC works, because THC forces your brain to do that. So it's like, it's a natural way to do that. But if I'm the last person that would have said this before, because I would have been so triggered by I was triggered by that back book years ago, Sarno, with I'm like, I have a real injury. Of course I can't, it's not just my emotions, but I'm starting to
Johnny Sarno.
understand the neurology here. It's interesting. My neurosurgeon, and I'm going to have him on the podcast soon, but he was telling me that this is such a powerful connection, your brain and your spine, because he operates on brain and spine. But he said they're so connected, and it's so important that who he operates on has that type of mindset that will literally learn how to focus that different direction. Because if you don't focus in that direction, it does change your healing and how you feel pain and all of that. And it's just really making a lot of sense to me. The other big lesson I learned, and you guys, this is such perfect timing, is about understanding our DNA and how we're wired, because that was helping me like kind of close a loop on why did I keep getting injured and why, like what's going on, like all these things. And then also the other layer is when Cash told me I could do to like speed up my healing was this high focus on mitochondria, and he gave me exactly what to do based on my DNA. So I'm bringing that up again because I did an episode the other day. You all might have heard directly with Cash, but next week. So if you're listening to this today, when I'm dropping it on Friday, Thursday next week, we are doing a free class, a free webinar with Cash, where he's going to dive deep into all this to help you guys figure out even your DNA and how that applies. So, and I'll link all this in the show notes, but it's midlifeconversations.com/DNA, midlifeconversations.com/DNA. It's free. You just got to save your spot. I'll put it in the show notes. Scotty, I want to wrap this up in just a minute here, but can you give kind of like anyone listening that is navigating this like self-doubt or pain or whatever, like kind of your daily whatever, because you literally gave up a whole career, your whole dreams, all your dreams. You're like one of the most positive people I know. You are not depressed walking around like that. You're not talking about chronic pain. What advice do you want someone that's navigating that right now to know from you?
It all changes with your identity. Don't identify as something, and don't become so committed to something that you're not willing to shift it. And then if you are going to identify as something, identify as something with positivity, identify as something that's going to make it better, heighten your level of energy. I know that a lot of people talk about energy and it's foo-foo and it's this and that. If you don't heighten your level of energy, you're never going to get anywhere. You really have to live in that. Who am I? What am I? How does that person live? And it's almost like the whole faking it till you make it thing. But I always say there's nothing wrong with faking it till you make it if you intend on making it. You know, so it's like
that's a good disclaimer on that. Yeah.
that's the thing is like, you know, live in that process. Like, what does somebody who feels good, how do they live? How do they talk to people? How do they show up? How do they, you know, they're showing up with a smile. They're always giddy. They're doing this. And even if you're in that pain, it's put on that smile, and it's put on that excitement. And you'll realize that once you start to do that, and you start to put other people in front of you, and you start to live for other people and trying to solve other people's problems and trying to help them out, you just become just like this positive every single day. Like, hey, like, who am I here to help? You know, what can I do? And I always say, it's like, it was such a blessing to become suicidal. It was such a blessing. And if you're at a low point right now and you're sitting there and you're like, you know, like, this could be the end for me. It's like, I want you to realize that you are in such a great place because there's nowhere further down you can go. You know, the only way you can go is up. And so all you have to do is now shift that mentality of, okay, this sucks. Yes. But what could I do tomorrow? That 1%, that one little thing that could make it a little bit better, you know. And normally I could probably do something for somebody else, whether that, you know, go buy somebody a coffee, you know, go and just give somebody a compliment, you know, and watch them light up. And by them lighting up, all of a sudden you're going to start to feel a little bit of positivity because energy shifts. And then once you start to live in that and you realize, oh, a little bit more, a little bit higher energy, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then you start living in that highest peak of energy, nothing matters anymore because you're just always in that state. It takes a lot for me to come down, you know, just because I live at that peak every single day. As long as you can identify as being that person, life's great.
So good. You guys, I'll link up Scotty's social media handles down below if you want to see him in action. And this is not something like he lives this way in his life, but this is not, you're not going to find, you actually should put content out on this, but you don't. You're going to find him doing some fun content and stuff, but I feel like you should talk more on this stuff. This is great. You've got this so ingrained in you.
It's fun. And, you know, it's more fun when people like, because it's more of a surprise. It's more of that shock factor of like, when you hear somebody that's talking about, hey, I was paralyzed and I came out, it's kind of like you hear the same story over and over and over again. And I'd rather you meet me and see this and understand that where I came from instead of me promoting it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like this, like I was in that situation, dude. Like, this is where I'm at now. It's this, like, I've lived so many lives that I just don't talk about, that when like you introduce yourself as somebody who's done something before, they're like, you've done that? It's like, yeah. Like, you know, it's like, it's fun, you know, and it gives somebody hope. And if there's one thing that I want to do is just give people hope.
So good. I think you definitely are. And I'm so grateful, as you said, like, I'm so grateful that this just happened to me and I went through this experience, because I tell people all the time, you got to focus on decision and focus on the possibility and all that. And I hear all the time people with their circumstances, and I'm thinking I've had a million circumstances, but it took me going to this level on a circumstance to really understand what some people are dealing with. And the answer was still the same. The answer was still to shift our focus. And I plan on learning a lot more about neuroscience now. Like, this is my new interest now, because I want to dive deeper. Like, DNA and neuroscience are like so important to me now. I want to understand more there. So thank you so much, Scotty.
I was just going to say, like, the DNA thing is like, it's so powerful too. And I wish I could talk more on it. I know we've been going for like 45 minutes right now, but that's one thing I would harp on is like, if you want to start somewhere, learn yourself on a DNA level. And I think that this thing that you're doing next week is going to be phenomenal. So, and it's like a free event. So it's like, if you don't sign up for that, that's your first step. Like, try it.
So much.
Like, try it.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Scotty. Thank you.